Alrighty, so the weekend is upon us, which means it's time to do the preview of the weekend's action as we're now into match week number 23. In fact, match week number 23 actually starts tonight, and it's a big one because we start off with a marquee matchup between LAFC versus the Seattle Sounder, and then tomorrow we'll have 11 games that's going to be happening on Saturday, and then there's only going to be one game that is going to be happening on Sunday, and if you do the math, there's actually only going to be 13 games. Well, I say only, there's going to be 13 games that's going to be happening in match week number 23, which is one less than what we usually get with 14 games. That is a part of a full slate weekend action in MLS, and I believe the only team that's not going to be playing this week is the Colorado Rapids and the New York Red Bulls, but mind you, they are going to be both playing in the middle of the week as we're once again going to have some midweek action that is going to happen as the calendar starts turn to August. But let us begin with tonight's matchup, and hence this is also the reason why I want to do this preview relatively quick, because I want to upload this video before this game starts. Now the good news is this game actually doesn't start until for a while at the time of this recording. The bad news is this is a very late start. Like, I do not know why exactly for such a marquee matchup like this between LAFC versus the Seattle Sounder starts at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Like, I guess maybe this is kind of like MLS realizing that, you know, that whole MLS After Dark kind of narrative. Yeah, let's try to promote that, but just do it in an extreme way where we're just going to have a lot of those East Coast people stay up so late at night to, of course, watch this game, and in the West Coast it's kind of almost the same. I mean, 8 p.m. is pretty much the latest kickoff we usually see this season in MLS game, but yeah, it's a very late kickoff in West Coast standard, especially in the East Coast, and especially the fact that it's on national television too. I mean, I don't remember the last time I've seen a national televised game that late in terms of this one, but yeah, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Actual kickoff doesn't start until 8:15 p.m. local time, so it's even later than usual, and this game is going to be on FS1. Now, I'll also be interested to see how the rating is going to be in this game. I mean, I know MLS have never done well in terms of rating, but it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe this is just Fox, or at least for the rest of the season, kind of experiment. What happened when we do have a late game? Will the ratings be a little bit better, or is it going to be worse? And I predict probably it's going to be the latter, because like I said, you know, as big as this match is, and as much I know that this will be a preview of not really the Western Conference Final, because I have a feeling maybe these teams could meet in the first round or in the second round, but you know, with this game being kicked off so late, I don't know whether or not if there's going to be so many people that is going to be super excited to watch this game, whereas if this game would have take place in the middle of the day. But that being said, in terms of the all-time meetings, 6-3-5 in favor of LAFC. And the injury report for LAFC, only two players that is out, Danny Maswanski and Gaines out for LAFC. Well, for Seattle, we know that João Paulo and Ober Vargas is still out with a long-term injury, and in the case of João Paulo, he's done for the season because of an ACL injury. And then questionable coming into this game is Raul Ruidiaz, and this is a big thing that could really change how this game is going to be, because if the Sounders are going to have Ruidiaz in this game, they definitely have a chance to upset LAFC. I mean, again, you know, I'm pretty sure that LAFC is going to be heavy favorites in this game, and you know, Seattle is probably going to be up against it again, but you know, they definitely want to continue to build up the momentum that they had. I mean, they finally ended a mini slump that they had with the win against the Colorado Rapids, and what a way to continue this second half resurgence, which was, as I said, kind of stalled because of this mini slump, by getting a big victory against LAFC on the road. I mean, so far this season, LAFC have pretty much been untouchable this season at home. They have rarely lost at home. In fact, I think they only lost once this season at home, which was against Austin FC. But other than that, they have a stellar record at home, and they're looking to try to continue that, and also continue to build on their Supporters Shield lead, because, you know, it feels like it started to look very similar to 2019 all over again. Well, remember in 2019, LAFC was head and shoulder above the rest of the league, and they're running away with the Western Conference. They're slowly doing that with the way that they're pulling away in the Western Conference, and then the rest of the team in the West, and even Austin, who try to keep up with them. It seems like that is not going to happen with them. With them also start to kind of fade a little bit, while LAFC has just gone much better in these last couple of weeks. But now moving on, we got another marquee matchup that will kick off the Saturday action. It seems like this week we always have these marquee matchup actually kicking off the beginning of the match week, or in this case, the beginning of a busy 11-game Saturday action. And that, of course, is Minnesota versus the Portland Timbers. Now, the reason why this is such a marquee matchup is not just because it's the rematch of last year's Western Conference first-round matchup, which I will not discuss what happened in that game, but it's also a matchup between two of the hottest teams in the league. Like, the Loons are one of the hottest teams in the league coming into this game with an 8-game unbeaten run, and the Timbers are also coming into this game with a 7-game unbeaten run, so something tells me something's going to have to give, unless if this does end in a draw. But this game will start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 2:08 p.m. local time, and this game is going to be on national television on ABC. All-time meeting, I mean, the Loons have pretty much dominated the all-time meeting in the regular season. Like, if you ignore what happened in the first 2 years, and also ignore what happened in the playoffs last season, Minnesota has the better of the Timbers, and for a long time, the Timbers' bigger kryptonite is Minnesota United. They just could not beat them, whether in league play or even in Open Cup play. But in terms of injury report for the Loons, I mean, there's a lot of players that are injured for this team. This is one of the more injured team in the league. Guys like Asani Dotson, Ja'Cory Hayes, Patrick Vieira, Roman Metiner, and Will Trapp will be all out in this game. Now, questionable in this game is Kervin Arriaga and Emmanuel Reynoso, and this is big because, I have heard that Reynoso is starting to be back training with the team, and I'm just fingers crossed that maybe this is the week when we could see him either starting in this game or coming off the bench. But it seems like in terms of the status of Arriaga, it looks like he's set to play. From what I heard, it seems like it's pretty much almost guaranteed that he's going to be in the 18 in this one, and that's big because this midfield has been just completely decimated because of injury. I mean, it's gone so bad to the point where I even mentioned in the News of the Week episode where they had to try to sign former U.S. Youth National Team player Jonathan Gonzalez just to cover of what has been a very injury-riddled kind of midfield that this Loons team has been dealt with this season. But the thing about that is that, still haven't rattled them. I mean, it's incredible how this team, as injured that they are, especially in the midfield, and as shorthanded they are, they're still somehow able to go on this unbeaten run. Now, for the Timbers, only player that is injured is Gutierrez, and the Timbers have also had a lot of injuries throughout the season, but it seems like they're starting to get bodies back healthy, and overall, this is a matchup, should be a good one, and I'm confident that Minnesota can knock off the Timbers because, like I said, they do have a good record against the Timbers, especially at home. But again, the Timbers are doing what we kind of thought that they were going to do, which is that incredible second half resurgence after they got that big win in the Cascadia Derby, and they're looking to fancy to get another win in this one against a team that has for a while has been their bogey team for the past couple of years. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Chicago Fire versus Atlanta United. And, throughout this week, there's going to be a lot of playoff six-pointer because we're getting to that part of the season where a lot of these matches between teams that is either below the playoff line or between teams that is above the playoff line but barely does it, or just kind of in between, those are going to be playoff six-pointer. And looking at the Eastern Conference, I mean, when you look at 5th all the way down to 13, it's only separated by 3 points. I mean, that's how tight it is, and the fact that, this is, of course, one of those games where it's a playoff six-pointer because, coming into this game for the Chicago Fire, they have been having a revitalized July with them winning 3 in a row coming into this game against Atlanta United team that once again continued the inconsistent pattern of losing in the last game against the Galaxy, and their record is now 6-6-9. Now this game will start at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 4:08 p.m. local time. All-time meeting, it's been pretty close, 6-0-5 in favor of Atlanta. And in terms of the injury report, Chicago will not have John Espinoza, Wyatt Omsberg, and Stanislav Ivanov. Questionable in this game is Gaston Jimenez, and for Atlanta, I mean, anytime when I mention injury report, it's going to be a long list, and indeed it is. They don't have Ozzy Alonso, Dylan Castillo, Brad Guzan, Miles Robinson, Ronald Hernandez, Brooks Lennon, and Emerson Hyman. And most of those guys I mentioned are pretty much done for this season because of some sort of ACL injury or MCL injury that they suffer. And then questionable coming into this game is Andrew Gutman. But like I said, it's a big playoff 6-pointer, especially, if the Fire does win in this game, and depending on how other result goes, they can actually get themselves above the red line. And if you would have told me that to any Chicago, or if you told any Chicago Fire fan that this team would be making or be back in the playoff hunt, or even getting above the playoff line after they were sitting rock bottom in the Eastern Conference for a while, they would think that is incredibly crazy. But that's how this team has had. I mean, it feels like this team has started to find that principle again, where they play good defense and they just do enough on the attack, and that's how they've been able to get all 3 points. And not to mention, they've also been very solid at home in these last couple of games. Like, I think they've only lost one time so far doing these last five home games, and that they technically should have not lost any game if it wasn't for that implosion that they had against the Columbus Crew. But let's see if that strong home form continue against an Atlanta team that, like I said, inconsistency is a big problem for this team. And when you're a team that's fighting for playoffs, inconsistency is the last thing you want to do if you want to get yourself above the red line. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is Charlotte FC versus the Columbus Crew. So this is another matchup between two teams that is kind of in that playoff hunt, and it's kind of like a playoff 6-pointer in the Eastern Conference, as this game will start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, there's only been one draw between both of these teams, and it was one of the first point that Charlotte was able to get on the road. Now, injury report coming into this game for Columbus, only player that is questionable is Artur, but for Charlotte, out in this game is Vinicius Melo and Adam Armour. Questionable, Josviak, Vargas, and Daniel Rios. Questionable for Charlotte FC in this one. But, Columbus, we talk about a team that's been informed. They're also been one of the hottest team in the league. In fact, you could argue they are the hottest team in the league right now if you look at the unbeaten streak, with them having the longest active unbeaten streak at 9 games. Against a Charlotte team that, it's been a brutal last 2 games. Like, after getting absolutely destroyed by the quality of TFC. And then also suffer their first implosion in their MLS existence by blowing a 2-0 lead to lose 3-2 against Inter Miami. It's been a rough time for the team in North Carolina and the Crown, and that, I mean, they're going to look to try to bounce back in this game against a Columbus team that, again, while this 9 games unbeaten streak has been impressive, there's been a lot of draws in these 9-game unbeaten streak. In fact, they technically only won 4 out of these nine games if you look at it in whole, and that's kind of frustrating if you're a Crew fan, because you've been on such a great run, but a lot of the reason why they haven't really made as much ground or been really gone up the table is because they've been drawing a lot of games, and that, usually 9 games unbeaten streak will definitely get you from sitting near the below the red line to get yourself in the top 4, but those draw has really kind of hamper the Crew any chances to even climb into the top 5 or in the top 4 in terms of the Eastern Conference. And when you also look at some of these draws that they had, some of them you could argue they could have got wins out of, and that if they would have got wins out, they probably would have cracked in the top 4. But that being said, moving on in the next one, we got Montreal versus NYCFC, as this game will be starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. NYCFC have a 12-5-4 record, while Montreal has an 11-2-8 record. And in terms of the all-time meeting, NYCFC has dominated this meeting, 9-4-2 over Montreal. And in terms of the injury report, you got Garredo, Johnson, and Ahmed Hamdi unavailable for Montreal. While for NYCFC, the only player is out is Keaton Parks and Anton Tinnerholm. But the big story coming into this game for NYCFC is that this is the first game of the post-Tati Castellanos era. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be. Well, I say it's the post-Tati Castellanos era, but technically NYCFC still have his rights after he, of course, was loaned to Girona. But you just kind of sense that it is the end of an era for NYCFC, and that, this is where the big question is going to be answered of how is NYCFC going to look going forward on the attack now that Tati Castellanos is no longer there. Are they going to be still solid, or are they going to suffer a bit bit because of their Talus number 9 that has really provided a spark for this team throughout the season and even in their MLS Cup run. But without that spark, we have seen this time where NYCFC attack has been a little lackluster, and it's going to be interesting to see, at least in this game and also for the rest of the season, is that going to be continue. I mean, they still have some talent on the attack, but just feel like even with some of the talent that they have on the attack, some of them kind of have underachieved a little bit, and the only reason why at least NYCFC is still near the top of the standings is because Tati Castellanos has at times just carried this team over the hill, and now he's no longer there. It is going to be very interesting to see who's going to be stepping up in that very young and talented attack. Though it's not going to be easy because Montreal, they started to get themselves back into good form, and especially with the way that it's not a big surprise when they got Georgi Mihailovic back in this team that they're starting to be back in a good run, and they're also trying to get themselves in terms of not only making the top 4, but even trying to replicate what they did in the beginning of the season, which is maybe even get all the way to the top of the Eastern Conference. Because when you look at the East, I know there's a bit of a separation between 4th through 5th, but when you look at the top 4, none of these teams I should say that they look like could be the team that could secure the top spot in the East. In fact, as I did that video before, I still don't think any of these teams that I've seen so far have really solidified themselves in terms of or all these teams between first all the way down to maybe even to 3rd team. You could still argue that some of these teams could make a run and could finish anywhere in the table right now. But now moving on in terms of the next match, and speaking of the team that is at top, we got the Philadelphia Union versus the Houston Dynamo. Now, this game will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, it's kind of a bit of a surprise, but Houston actually have the better over the Union. 9-4-7 is their record, though that being said, this was doing at a time when the Union was not doing very well and the Dynamo was in its golden era. But when you look at recent matchup, I think it has skewed heavily in terms of the Union favor because they have definitely prospered while the Dynamo has been struggling for these past couple of seasons. Now, coming into this game, I think this is the only game where I get to say that none of these players for both of these teams are actually injured, as the injury report on the league website says none. Now, I'm not sure whether or not that's credible or not because, again, I sometimes don't trust the injury report in terms of the league website because maybe they haven't been updated yet, and especially when I look at all these injury reports and guys that is out, that article that gives all the injury report for all these teams haven't been updated in the past 4 days. So maybe there might be some new injury that might develop from both of these teams. But either way, it seems like for now, none of these players are going to miss any of their player in their roster, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this game is going to go. I mean, obviously, I think the Union is going to be heavy favorites, and they are expected to win this game, but don't count out the Dynamo. I mean, this is a team that I wouldn't say that they have done better this season on the road, but they have definitely been more competitive on the road this season. Like, it feels like even though they're still losing games on the road, at least they're losing it in a competitive way, unlike previous season where that whenever the Dynamo go on the road, they're not going to do anything, and it's just kind of a lifeless performance, and the Union's got to watch out for that. They can't just treat the Dynamo lightly. They need to, of course, keep their focus so that they can get 3 points again. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Inter Miami versus FC Cincinnati. So this is another big 6-pointer playoff matchup between two teams that with one just above the red line, that is FC Cincinnati with a 7-7-8 record, while Inter Miami has a 7-4-10 record. As this game will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 8:08 p.m. local time. Now, all-time meaning Miami has a 4-0-1 record over FC Cincinnati, but that one win did came this season when FC Cincinnati finally getting their first ever victory against Inter Miami. And in terms of the injury report for Miami, only player that is out is Robbie Robinson, but for Cincinnati, you got Matarrita out long-term this season, and Don Baji not available, and also questionable in this game is Sergio Santos. Now, for Cincinnati, the issue for them in these last couple of weeks and doing this winless run that they have is that they've been drawing a lot lot of games. And while those draws have kind of keep them above the red line for a bit, yeah, there is a lot of team that is hungry to try to take their spot, and that's kind of the case for Inter Miami, where again, this is kind of still started to become a very difficult team to figure out, and started to kind of look very similar to the team in their expansion season, where it's just the inconsistency that is kind of hurting in this team. I mean, there's could be time where if the good Miami team show up, they can definitely be looking like a playoff team, but then there's time where they look very bad and they lose pretty badly either at home and especially on the road. Now, the good news is this game is at home, but keep in mind, FC Cincinnati this season, well, the reason why they have so many wins this season is mainly because they've been one of the best team on the road this year. So this might not be an automatic 3 points for Inter Miami, but I wouldn't even say it's an automatic 3 points. I mean, when you have a playoff 6-pointer like that, you know both of these teams is going to go at it. And again, depending on how the result is going to be, one of these teams could find themselves either staying above the red line, or Inter Miami can definitely propel themselves above the red line, depending on how other resort goes on. But now moving on, in the next match, we got Nashville SC versus the Vancouver Whitecaps, and I believe this is the last opponent that Nashville has not faced in their franchise history, because I'm pretty sure up till now they have pretty much faced every single team. I might be wrong though. They might have actually still haven't faced some opposition so far, because I know they've already faced LAFC, they already faced the Quakes. They definitely faced the Timbers, and they definitely faced the Sounders a couple of times. And I think Vancouver is one of the last team to do so. I don't know if they have faced the Galaxy yet. They might have done it, but I think Vancouver is the last team I can think of is the last time that I get to say this is the first ever meeting that Nashville have against a Western Conference team, because as I said, for a while Nashville was an Eastern Conference team before moving back to the Western Conference, and it seems like maybe next year they're going to be moving back to the Eastern Conference. Now, this game will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. Nashville have an 8-7-7 record, while Vancouver has a 7-5-10 record. Injury reports coming into this game, only guys that are out for Nashville is Robert Castellanos and Anibal Godoy. But for the Whitecaps, you got Sebastian Berhalter, David Caicedo, Christian Gutierrez, Christian Martins, and also Eric Godoy out for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, it's also going to be interesting to see how the Whitecaps will do in this game after, they had a historic win against Toronto FC, getting their second ever Canadian championship win on penalties. And anytime when you have like a big victory and a historic moment in the club, and you have to turn around on a short rest to play an MLS game, yeah, you can easily have a letdown. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not if the Whitecaps is going to have a letdown, especially against a Nashville team that is desperate in terms of trying to get victories at home. I mean, I talk about the struggles this season with Nashville at home, and that has really kind of prevent themselves really rising up the standings in the Western Conference. And we'll see whether if it continues in this game, or will they get a much needed win in this one against a Whitecaps team that probably is still partying after becoming the first MLS team to secure a CONCACAF Champions League spot heading into next season. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the next 6 games, or the last 6 games, or actually no, I'm sorry, the last 5 games that is going to be happening in terms of match week number 23, because after all, I forgot that there's going to be 13 games that happen this week instead of 14. But like I said, we'll look at the last 5 games and also the next 4 games that wraps up in terms of the Saturday action, and also look at the 1 game that's going to be happening on Sunday. So speaking of the Canadian Championship, the next match we're going to talk about also involving one of the team that was the finalist in the Canadian Championship, but unfortunately the loser of that Canadian Championship, that is Toronto FC, taking on the New England Revolution. And you know that TFC will definitely be disappointed after losing that Canadian Championship and another chance to win a trophy and also get themselves back into CCL. But coming into this game, they do have to quickly turn things around, because they're playing against a Revs team that, this is a team that has been fighting with inconsistency in these last couple of games, and have always tends to struggle in terms of just about to get above the red line in the standings in the East. Now, this game will start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 8:08 p.m. local time. All-time meeting, the Revs have a 14-11-10 record over TFC. Injury report for the Revs, no injury to report according to the league website. And for TFC, they got Noble Okello, Quinton Westberg, and Chris Mavinga not available for TFC in this game. And, like I said, what I said about the Whitecaps, where they have a letdown. The same goes with Toronto FC. I mean, losing a final is going to be tough, but have to play in a league game and have a turnaround just a couple of days after losing a final is extremely tough to do, and it will really test the character of this team. But if there's one thing we know about this TFC team, and one thing that TFC want to prove to the rest of the league, that game against Charlotte FC, after they put on what looked like a very 2016 and 2017 TFC kind of performance, they want to show the rest of the league that wasn't just a flash in the pants, and that they can definitely do it again. And we'll see whether or not if they can do it, because this is the first time we're gonna see those big two in Insigne and Benedeschi playing a road game in the league, and we'll see whether or not if they can continue to propel their performance on the road against a Revs team that they definitely want to get a win, and trying to finally get themselves back above the red line, where it feels like it's been, like I said, it's been a struggle for them. It feels like there's been times they had a chance to do so, and then there's time they actually did climb up the red line, but the result doesn't go in favor of them, and they drop right back below the red line. So yeah, we'll see if this might be the week where they can finally find themselves back above the red line. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, we got Sporting KC versus Austin FC, and talk about teams that have a difficult ways to come back into the league play and have to face some adversity to come back into league play. That's the case for Sporting KC, and you got to say Sporting KC might be facing the toughest test in terms of really showing some good mentality to get themselves back into league play, because in theory you could say that Sporting KC season is pretty much done. Like, we know that their regular season is pretty much done a while ago, but after that shocking defeat against the Sacramento Republic, where literally that was kind of the only tournament that can really salvage their season, I wonder how the mindset is going to be with the Sporting KC team, especially for the rest of the season, whether this team is just going to be simply checked out, and that, as I said, I feel like this team has definitely got some soul searching to do this off season, and got some big decision that they got to make of how they can reshape this team of getting themselves back to being a playoff team, because this is something we have not seen Sporting KC endure. Besides the 2019 season, I mean, even in the 2019 season, this was not as bad as what we've seen. This has just been a complete fall apart for this Sporting KC team that we're just not used to. Like, we're so used to this team being an elite team years and years, and now it's hard to believe this team is sitting at the bottom of the Western Conference. And it's not going to be easy, because they're playing against an Austin team that this Austin team is going to be angry after that result against the Red Bulls. I mean, after what was one of their worst game of the season, they're looking to go back on the road, which has been their comfort zone so far this season, because they have been really the hottest team right now on the road with a 5-5 record, and have been unbeaten in their last 5 road games. Now, this game will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting, it's 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss apiece for both of these teams. And in terms of the injury report, you got Courtney Form, Ozzy Cisneros, Gadi Kinda, and Alan Pulido not available in this one. I mean, a couple of these guys we have pretty much done for the season, and in some cases we have 2 of the players that hasn't even played a single minute and will not play a single minute in this season. That is Gadi Kinda and Alan Pulido. And then questionable in this game is Tim Melia. For Austin FC, they will not have Valencia, who of course is done for the season, and also Hector Jimenez, who will be out with a long-term injury. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how Sporting KC is going to respond after just really a season-ending loss against the Sacramento Republic, and that we'll see whether or not if Austin can take advantage of it. But now moving on, we got FC Dallas versus the LA Galaxy. So, both of these teams, after getting a much-needed win to really end a cold streak, they of course will now face off against each other. And I talk about a lot of these Eastern Conference games that are like kind of playoff 6-pointer, and I haven't mentioned a lot of Western Conference game that is playoff 6-pointer. This is exactly one of those. As this game is between two teams that is just sitting above the red line in the West right now. And like I said, the West is very tight, and there's a lot of hungry team below them that is looking to take the spots away from these two teams that is just above the red line. Now, for the Galaxy, they have a 9-3-9 record, while Dallas have an 8-8-6 record. This game will start at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 8:08 p.m. local time. The Galaxy have a 39-13-35 all-time record between both of these teams. And in terms of the injury report, not much to report for both of these teams other than the fact that questionable for Dallas coming in this game is Brendan Cervania. And for the Galaxy, the player that is out in this game is Jorge Villafania, who probably will be out for the rest of the season as he hasn't really had a single minute to play for this Galaxy team. But yeah, this is a game for both of these teams that is looking to try to go on a run after going through just such a miserable stretch after getting a much needed win. But for FC Dallas, they also had something that they need to end, and that of course is the home form. I mean, it's been a woeful home form, which is kind of something that they've been relying heavily on in previous year, and that's gotta improve, at least in Dallas' case, because this season it feels like it's kind of reversed, where they actually have been doing much better on the road, but now they start sucking at home. And if you're a Dallas fan, that has to be very frustrating, because in some way you're happy the fact that the team is playing better on the road, and that's kind of improvement for previous season, and now it's the home form that is the big issue. And that, again, no wins in the last 5 home games for FC Dallas, and they're looking to try to change that against the Galaxy in this one. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is the San Jose Earthquakes versus RSL, as this game will start at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. Now, the Quakes, their season is pretty much done at 5-7-9, while RSL have a 9-6-7 record, a team that has been kind of inconsistent in these last couple of games. Now, in terms of the all-time meeting, it's a 15-11-13 record that the Quakes have against RSL. Injury report for the Quakes, nobody is injured in that team, but for RSL, crucially, they still have Damir Krylak out and Bobby Wood out for this game, and also Tate Schmidt is out for this game. By the way, those two players are not close to being coming back for RSL, and that, again, anytime when the Quakes play against RSL, it's going to be a close matchup. Than that, anytime when I also feel like when both of these teams play against each other, there's gonna be some toughness that has happened. Like, I remember when during the Almeida days, when the Quakes play against RSL, it's almost like a rivalry game where it's a bloodbath whenever both of these teams face off against each other. And I expect this could maybe be the case again, and especially I feel like there is no doubt that RSL desperately need a win in this one. Like I said, against a Quakes team that has not only have now gone past the whole coaching boost from Alex Cavallo, but now it's started to kind of look like the team I thought that they were, which is a team that is pretty much done this season and have completely checked out, and that RSL need to take advantage of it. And we'll see if they can do so, because so far this season on the road, as expected throughout the past couple of seasons, they have not done so well on the road this year. But now moving on, in the last match that we're going to preview in terms of match week number 23, and the only Sunday game, is DC United versus Orlando City, and this might be the first time where we have a lone Sunday game and it's not national televised, as this game is only going to be on ESPN+. DC have a 5-3-12 record, another team that pretty much checked out this season, though what is big about this game is that this, of course, will be the official debut of Wayne Rooney being the head coach of this DC team, and they're going to be facing against an Orlando City team that, remember when both of these teams faced off against each other a couple of weeks ago, and on that 4th of July game? There was fireworks in that game, and that turns out to be one of the craziest, if not the craziest game we have seen so far this season, with DC winning 5-3 in that one. And for Orlando, 8-6-8, and coming off of making it to the U.S. Open Cup final, and just as what I said with the Vancouver Whitecaps, after a momentous moment in their club history in the middle of the week with domestic cup competition, are they going to have a let down? Especially, DC is going to be motivated. Like, DC is going to have that head coach boost, and anytime when a head coach make a debut, that the players are going to play hard for their head coach, and that anytime when you're the opposition and you face a team that has a new head coach, that's usually always the most dangerous opponent to face, because they're going to going to really go at it, and I expect that could be the case in this game for DC against Orlando. Especially DC have already beaten Orlando this season, courtesy of that crazy game. Now, this game will start at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 5:08 p.m. local time. All-time meaning it's 7 wins apiece for both of these teams with 1 draw. In terms of injury report for DC, player out for this team is Adrian Perez, Bill Hamid, and Brad Smith. And the only player for Orlando that is out is Mason Stada higher. But yeah, this is a game that DC is looking to try to complete the sweep and trying to give Wayne Rooney a dream start to his coaching career in MLS. But for Orlando City, again, they want to have some revenge, and they also want to carry that momentum that they had against the New York Red Bulls in the U.S. Open Cup, which that performance was by far the best performance that Orlando City has played all season long, and we'll see whether they can follow that in this game against DC United. But that being said, that is pretty much it for the preview of all 11 games, or not 11 games, I'm sorry, all 13 games that is going to happen in terms of match week number 23. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 13 games, and as always, let me know in the comments below your prediction for all 13 games that's going to be happening in match week number 23. I might actually end up just doing a review of all 13 of these games at once, because, I mean, I guess what I could also do is maybe just break up the review and do what I used to do, which is kind of cut it in half and just kind of split into 2 parts. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to do, because, again, I can't really find a time when I can really do a review of these games without just kind of saying, well, I mean, if I do a review on Sunday, it's going to be definitely after the DC versus Orlando City game, and hence there's also the reason why maybe I should just do one big review. But at the same time, if I do one big review, it's going to be a long video, and I don't think anyone want to watch like a 90 minutes or even a 2-hour review video of me talk about all the action. So yeah, I might think about splitting it, but we'll see how that's going to work on Sunday when I do the review of these games. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Like I said, let me know in the comments below what do you think of all these games and your prediction for all 13 of these games. And yeah, hope you guys see you guys next time.